Hi guys, and welcome to another video. And in this lesson, we're going to be looking at the term diffusion. Now, dissolved substances have to pass a membrane to move in and out of the cell. These dissolved substances move in and out of the cell by a process called diffusion. Diffusion just means the movement of particles from a high concentration to a low concentration. And this always happens down a concentration gradient. So there's a few terms in there that I want to go over just before we move on. Remember, diffusion is the movement of particles from a high to a low concentration. The particles actually have to move. This is why diffusion takes place in gases or in dissolved substances, because the particles have to move and they cannot move in a solid. Now, if we look at this box here represents a concentration gradient, because here we have a high concentration and here we have a low concentration. Well, hopefully you guys can see that this is a high concentration because there are more particles. This is a low concentration because there are no particles. So diffusion tells us that the particles will move from here, where there's a high concentration, to where there's a low concentration. That term concentration gradient just means the difference in concentration between 2 points. So the particles will always move down the gradient. Now, we can see diffusion taking place at home. For example, sometimes when you walk in your front door, you may be able to smell dinner being cooked. Although the dinner's being cooked in the kitchen, you may be some distance away, you can still smell the food. This is because the particles move from a high concentration in the kitchen to a low concentration where you're standing. Now, diffusion takes place in the body, and it takes place in 2 places. It takes place in the gut, and it also takes place in the lungs. Now, diffusion takes place in the gut for nutrients to diffuse into the blood. In the blood, we have a low concentration of nutrients, but after digestion, we have a high concentration of nutrients in our gut. So those nutrients diffuse across the small intestine into our bloodstream. We also see diffusion taking place in the lungs, where the oxygen diffuses across the alveoli, which are the air sacs in our lungs, and the oxygen diffuses across the alveoli into the blood. We have a high concentration of oxygen in our lungs when we breathe in. There is a low concentration of oxygen in our blood, so the oxygen moves by diffusion into the blood. Okay guys, thanks for tuning in and stay in touch.